low volatility environment. So it feels like consolidation because like the market's just going up 30 points a day or whatever, right? And so you're not necessarily seeing the volatility. So it feels like consolidation, but it hasn't been. We've been actually going up every day, just very, very small. So we are pulling back, but really unless we broke under like this kind of 90 EMA on the daily chart, I don't know if we have anything to necessarily be worried about. Frankly, I personally would rather trade a market that gaps down slightly to support than try to chase like a 300-point gap up, right? Which is, or 200-point spike at the open. Those are the days that you really sit around a lot. But, any type of weakness in this market has been getting bought. So, like, if you're looking, like, anytime we really had, like, some intraday, like, good, solid intraday weakness, we've been rebounding really, really nicely. So, this gap down today, I think, should be good because what it's going to do is give us a little bit extra range on some stocks. If you have some nice winners and stuff that you were playing on Friday, then we could get good potentials for OR red to greens, right? So on a gap down in the market, the play is to look for red to greens, at least in a bullish market. So potential plays for red to greens. This JMIA, this would be day 3 on the downside. I'm hoping we get a quick flush down at the open. If we got close and held at 32, I think that could start a potential rebound. If not, like it's down about 2% right now. 34.75 is the red to green spot. So, at that point, you could get even something. You could get a red to green right at the open too. So ideally for me, I'd rather it flush down because I think we'll have more range if we can get closer down to 32. And then we'll watch. Now, we don't necessarily know, right? You could come down to 32 and just knife right under. But that is a decent size support that's been, here for a handful of days. So that's why I was kind of looking at this particular level. I think that one has a chance. This Yeti is, gearing up for a breakdown. The issue with this one that's going to be hard for most people is that if this thing breaks out, say it goes red to green today and breaks out, a good chunk of the move will happen in like 2 candles. That's how this stock works because it doesn't have like the 10, 15, 20 million shares a day in volume. So, it'll move up in 2 candles. So then if you try to just hit like the first small dip or something like that, oftentimes they don't hold. You need like a better rounding pattern. So watch when this trend, if it breaks out and the trend starts to set, really watch and see how it reacts around that VWAP. Make sure it holds above it. I think we'll have a good shot. This pins is actually, it's starting to fly up even in the pre-market. Not fly, but it's starting to make a nice move even in the pre-market. So it's definitely, you're starting to see like a pre-market flag on this thing. The high from Friday is 25.20. So if you start to see that thing break over that previous day's high, then I think that'll be something that we can watch for a continuation. But with a lot of these IPOs, you need a couple days pullback or a couple days of kind of sideways grinding before they kind of allow fresh buyers to come in and start to rip. So, don't be surprised if this thing just kind of drops down and then sits around for a couple days. That is the norm on a lot of IPOs. I think this one at some point will have some potential, but we'll just trade the action and see what we see. Add this STZ to the watch list. So you had a nice flag pattern that it came out on Friday. Also broke over the 200 SMA. We've got a pretty strong open on this so far. It's not gapping up, but just a nice kind of green or slightly green open that I think this one's got good enough range. You could see like after that big pullback, right? You had like $6-7 range. I think this one's really tradable and it's got enough liquidity for us to be able to get in and out. Out of like the pot kind of names like CGC and stuff, trades like a turd, but this one in general has a little bit more stability to it. So I'd keep that one on the list. This RHE's going today. I don't know if this break holds or not, but this is one of those ones like the float on this will be pretty small. The market cap's only $2 million, right? So if you got $2 million market cap, what can happen when this stock opens? I mean, you could get 20% candles if it breaks out at the right spot. It also can dump just as bad. So just keep an eye on this one. I think that this one, out of the small guys, this one probably has the best chance to go. When you have something like this, don't chase it right up at the open. There are a handful of people that can sit there in the 1 minute chart and trade like an ORB at the open. When you do that off the 1 minute, you got to trade smaller, right? Because you know like there's a 50-50 shot you'll get stopped out, but you don't care because you're going for the bigger rip for risking a small. It's easier though on these trades to like let them settle for a little bit, and they tend to, if it's hot, they tend to break back out later in the day anyways. So you don't have to worry too much about that. ISRG, this one's breaking under the 200 SMA here. You've got a pretty good range on this. Watch this thing. If it starts to ORB under 490, I think you'll have a chance on this. Granted, this is a $500 stock, so most people are not going to want to trade it. The issue on this one could be that there is a spread, but watch that 490 mark and see if you start to ORB on something like this. A stock like this could rip down 30, 40 points in a few candles just for the fact that it doesn't have a huge float on it. And it's going to have just a good solid range. It probably hasn't had, I've been watching this thing for years. It probably had one bad earnings report in, 10 years, 5 years. So, you may get this thing getting dusted. This MDSO looks nice. So if you look at actually its weekly chart, you can see like it kind of breaking out of this range over here, and you will attack these all-time highs. If you can do that and break over it, I think this one has a chance. Only 57 million share float, $5 billion market cap, so it's going to move pretty well. That's usually in our sweet spot too, right? It's like, at least for me personally, I don't deal that well with like micro caps or like super large caps. I like that kind of that middle zone. I think that's where there's a big edge in some of this stuff, and they trade just a little bit cleaner. So just keep an eye on that one. I think that is it for the today, and then just put all these IPOs on the list. They're all trading pretty well. You can keep really any single. There's we got a list of 10, 15 of them. I'm watching them all. So every single IPO that's came out the last month was just kind of on the list in general. They're all setting up. We'll see how the market reacts to the red to green today. If it goes even red to green, we don't necessarily know. But it's Monday. You know what that means? Trade well, trade fast, start your week off good, and we're going to have ourselves a little fun. Let's go do what we got to do, people. Woo, finally we got a gap down day in the market. That's what I like to see, These gap up days suck. So this is going to be fun today. We'll have a little bit of range, and we're going to have some fun.